Welcome, Veronica. Can you share a little bit about what brought you to mindfulness and self-compassion, learning it, studying it, teaching it?
Well, I have been always a searcher of how to. I've always been into like self-help, right? And I knew that I was struggling with um, wanting things to always go right. In particular, my training as a engineer has been to always make things perfect. And I noticed how that was being carried to my family at home, wanting everything to be perfect. And when with a toddler and a baby, that's pretty impossible, right? So, and just living in human society is pretty impossible. So yeah, so I found self-compassion, started reading about it, became really interested in it. So
Great. And you started by taking like an adult mindful self-compassion class. Can you
yes,
just
that's
share
correct.
a little bit about how that impacted you? Because I know, again, as an individual, as a parent, like how did learning this impact you? And then feel free to share the progression of how this led to sharing with kids.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, so I took the adult course. I was already practicing some of that, but not to the re for me, I felt like I was very good at practicing mindfulness with my yoga training and whatnot. And but there was like a missing piece and to kind of complete it. And self-compassion was that missing piece. It's like, okay, I can be aware of my feelings. Now, what do I do with them? I can be aware of my body, but what do I do with it? What is my next step? Is the piece that of the puzzle that was missing. And so I started incorporating self-compassion into my practices and discovered that it actually makes me feel more resilient. I can bounce out of things as I become as I struggle with things, and made me realize I really need to teach this to my kids. And so I took the course, the parent-child course with my, at that time, 6-year-old actually. I want to take it again now that she's a little older. But yeah, and I've noticed that in particular with kids, it was really helpful that they see me practice, right? Because I was practicing as an adult by myself, but now that they are familiar with the concepts, it's kind of like it's familiar for them. They see what it is that I'm doing, and I actually practice the children's practice. There's things like seven shakes and things like that, that they're familiar with, and that's what I practice in front of them. That has really helped them develop uh, a language of self-compassion, and is really showing in our daily lives. Like I want to give you a quick example, if that's okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
please do.
All
Uh-huh.
right. So recently, my husband made a big mistake that cost us a $2,000 TV, and I my immediate reaction was I had this urge to punish and shame, and because it was pretty big deal, right? I was somehow able, I think it's because of the practice, able to kind of, first of all, keep my mouth shut and focus on myself. Okay, how am I feeling right now? And what do I need right now? And then my children, I mean, noticing the interaction between me and my husband, everybody was right there in the room. Um, Taking a few breaths, tell myself, I mean, doing my practice in front of them. A few minutes later, my children go and they go and hug their dad, asking, Dad, do you need a hug? Because they realized that we were all struggling. And so for them, it became a lot easier, right? To go into into that compassion place, So that was sweet to witness.
That is so beautiful. So you learned it, and actually you learned to model for kids using kids practices when you took the parent-child class. And then something happens in your family, you feel upset, you give yourself compassion, and there's a ripple of compassion through your whole family.
Yes.
That like literally started with you being kind to yourself. Like, how beautiful is that?
Yes, it's funny because like you hear this cliche, love yourself before you can love somebody. And I mean, it's so true, you know, it's like be compassionate to yourself will definitely, you know, it's like a two-way. Being compassionate to yourself helps you being compassionate to others, being compassionate to others helps you be compassionate to yourself. So it's just beautiful that way.
Great. And do you have any advice for parents, teachers, educators, anyone that like feels tentative to start the journey, not sure if it's going to make a difference, feeling time starved? Any kind of suggestions or words of encouragement for people that aren't sure?
Yes, I would like to encourage, I guess, number one, to kind of realize, okay, what is it that I'm losing by trying, you know? Really, for me, I think that being perfectionistic, I wanted to, once again, do the practice perfect, but realizing that is in the small steps that makes a small step can make a huge difference. You know, we don't have to do everything perfect. So for those who feel like, oh, this is gonna take too much of my time, too much of my brain power to do, I would just suggest do what you can and be kind to yourself. You know, don't try to do it all at once. Yeah.
Beautiful. So just take that first step.
Yeah.
Thanks, Veronica.